Imagine a garden folded from paper. Ribbons of mulberry paper twist into trailing vines, their edges kissed by watercolor gradients, soft aquamarine fading into powdery lavender. Every breeze stirs the garden into sound, soft crackling whispers of paper flowers brushing against one another, layered with the distant tinkling of glass wind chimes shaped like crescent moons. Above, the air smells of freshly brewed white tea mingled with the faint spice of saffron. A raffia fountain spills endless loops of golden thread that shimmer like sunbeam confetti. Imagine a meadow woven entirely from yarns. Woolen clouds dyed in pastels drift overhead, casting shifting shadows onto the grass-stitched flooring below, a patchwork of greens and creams arranged like an abstract quilt. From somewhere near a lattice arbor strung with sparkling geodes, a lullaby wafts, celesta notes dripping one by one like dew. Against this melody, mischievous goslings crafted from felt waddle between carpeted pathways, peeping in disapproval at the bright candy-striped scarecrows waving from their perches. Fashion opinions are for later. One scowls, fluffing its velveteen ruff. Imagine an orchard suspended in motion, trees with pearly bark and leaves made of delicate glass. Each glimmers faintly in a light source one can't quite pinpoint, casting subtle rainbows that paint the air itself. Fruits dangle, impossibly perfect, golden apples with sugared frost, crimson plums wrapped in a film of glittery dew. When the wind comes, the trees don't sway so much as hum, the vibrations sparking harp-like chords as blown petals of lavender settle across the soft moss floor. A wandering alien bird, its feathers streaked with neon green, picks a fruit with an air of detached royalty, then promptly lets it slip through spindly claws. Drop it on purpose, murmurs a snarky tassel doll tucked amongst the roots. Very avant-garde, darling. Imagine a gazebo on the edge of a foggy ravine, its frame a swirling dance of vines and branches, their edges glinting faint gold like captured sunlight frozen mid-laughter. Strings of wildflowers hang in lazy garlands, their petals fluttering faintly despite the absence of wind. Lace curtains ripple inward from nowhere, occasionally lifting to reveal views that don't exist, a mountaintop wrapped in stars, a shattered prism sky, a calm sea frothing in indigo. From a makeshift wooden table, parchment pages sprout like plants, their ink sketching soft geometric patterns as a harpsichord hums thoughtfully. Beside it, a moss-covered bench reclining as if deep in repose hosts a single mannequin who adjusts its tulle overlay. Certainly not crooked, it murmurs to itself, voice soft as spun silk. Imagine a towering trellis garden with labyrinthine passageways, the paths formed of cobblestones embedded with moonstones rather than mortal rock. Each turn offers a new stage-like tableau, statues of fussy topiary stags sipping unseen ambrosia, a carousel frozen mid-spin, where porcelain pandas nod approvingly, hedges shaped like princess-gowned mannequins who appear perpetually mid-curtsy. Roses of luminous hues climb brazenly over fences, silver lace roses brushed with periwinkle light, heliotrope thistles beckoning. A breeze stirs, sweetened, strange, tinged with basil and thyme, and faint laughter cascades, though its source remains evasive. High above, glass rooftops shed refracted amber light in rhythms that feel orchestral. Imagine a greenhouse forest obscured by frosted panes, where winter whispers settle like murmured secrets caught against the glass. The air feels suspended, crisp and mint-laced, with only fragile hints of motion in the soft swirls of snow drifting nowhere in particular. A frozen waterfall streams upward, curling into glowing floral shapes as phantom fires flicker deep behind the glass. Wooden barrels filled with elderflower tea catch the light, their soft steam curling like playful ghosts between the leaves of skeletal birch trees scattered amidst the icy quiet. The trees blink, a topiary fox carved sharp as shadow emerges from its pose, sniffing the concentrated silence with what can only be smug amusement. Imagine a floating garden, its boundaries tethered not by walls but an endless horizon of twilight skies. The floor beneath your feet is made of swirling puddles of liquid starlight that somehow feel sturdy, though they ripple as though breathing softly. Translucent lilies thrust upward, their stems glittering like spun sugar strands, and atop each, hummingbirds with wings painted like shattered rainbows dip ceremoniously into invisible nectars. Every note in the garden is a lullaby, the taps of soft raindrops too delicate to feel, the distant melancholy purr of a harmonium. And beneath these sounds, the hum of air moving in ways that feel like unspoken phrases. Above, fireworks of multi-hued petals bloom, lingering too long before fading. Imagine a stairway curling into mist, each step worn smooth by feet that never existed. At its base, a koi pond teems with living paints rather than fish, brushstrokes of teal, vermilion, and honey flowing and darting back and forth beneath the still frosted surface. In the cascading silence, glass bells hang from dangling silver threads, each glowing faintly with reflected moonlight. A puppet-sized panda dips a toe into the pond absently, dragging strokes of mist into loops. "Think it needs glitter," it mutters balefully to the breeze, before fading amongst pine-scented fog. Alongside the stairway's rail grows a garden of vines made entirely out of fine embroidery floss, their leaves posed impossibly sharp. Imagine a campsite that's never seen Earth's gravity. Teepees held aloft by vines, woven with deep indigo threads and shimmering threads of rain, lanterns glowing faintly pastel blue. Tiny campfires float midair, their flickering light forever refusing to fall to the moss-covered floor. Across one edge of the camp, beanbag cushions embroidered with celestial maps spiral gently within a carousel-like ring of whispering wind. Each breath of sound nudges silver-feathered hats astride invisible stands, not bound to touch or ground. "Campfires should at least be practical," observes a tasseled voice, yet nearby fox-shaped shadows smirk back as tendrils trail up endlessly into mist. The autumn bonfire spirals on. Imagine a wisteria swing garden cradled between the shifting clouds of twilight. Above, the blooms glow faintly lavender and silver, their tendrils weaving faint patterns into the breeze, tangling into amorphous crescents when they're left to meander. All around, air ripples not in temperature but hue, fluctuating between the softest lilac and muted goldenrod. Tiny music boxes scattered along the stone path wind themselves at random, tinkling melodies that scatter like fireflies in dusk air. Here and there, ill-tempered scarecrows in flowing rococo-inspired regalia point toward the benches carved into persimmons, their beaded cuffs jangling furiously when ignored. The sun hovers obediently low, gilding nothing yet brightening secrets. Imagine petals folded like parchment, their veins inked with silver filigree that catches light too ethereal for any sun. Trees rise, not heavy with foliage, but as slender frames etched entirely from jagged geodes. Beneath them are pools of tea that swirl in bright galaxies, cinnamon-hued velvet curls dotted with luminous herbal moons. Swans of glassy frost pirouette lazily around the pools, their wings dripping crystalline icicles. Somewhere in the deep thrum of this imagined grove, a xylophone clicks out notes of autumn rain bouncing on hollow wood. Further ahead, vines bow into heart-shaped lattices that crumble faint gold as paths wander deeper. Imagine a cascading arbor of ivy, its leaves shimmering with holographic patterns as though each one had stolen a fragment of a rainbow. The ground beneath it crackles softly, a curious mix of fallen eucalyptus petals and glittering pebbles that shift colors with every step, like walking on prisms. A breeze trails through, carrying the faint bite of wild mint, crisp and untamed, mingling with the sweeter notes of freshly bloomed safflower. Along the sides, mischievous hedgerow figures, part sculpture, part topiary, silently play freeze tag, caught mid-lunge with faces of comedically exaggerated mischief. One, shaped suspiciously like a cat, twitches a leafy paw as if daring anyone to look too long. Imagine a hidden pond, its edges bordered by candlestick-shaped trunks of luminous birch trees. The water itself is as dark as midnight but glows faintly where lily pads float, each pad shaped like a starburst, their points dusted with glimmering pollen. Beneath the surface, koi fashioned entirely from streaks of sapphire and liquid silver dart in languid, artistic loops. Above, cascading ruffles of voile create a sky where none should belong, gently diffusing light in thin, iridescent waves. A wicker chair sits seemingly abandoned on the pond's edge, its cushion plump with brazen layers of plaid and colors too daringly mismatched to be accidental. Perched on its armrest, a tassel doll with yarn for hair mulls over a teapot in the shape of a melon, whispering, fruit-shaped teapots should come with instructions. Outrageous otherwise.